It's no secret that the MCU has a bit of a quality issue going on these days. I mean, you know it, I know it, kinda everybody knows it. It's just kind of been a series of aimless projects following a bunch of massive hits, really. I mean, more recently it was a Disney Plus show that wasn't really promoted, which meant that nobody really watched it. It just doesn't hit the same anymore, you know? Wait, you thought I was talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? No. I'm talking about the better MCU. The Muppets Cinematic Universe. And wait, because before you say that I clickbaited you with this video, look at the thumbnail. It's there. You just gotta look a little bit closer. Just had to look extra hard, but it's there. We're talking about the Muppets today.
What the? Ginger, no!
The Muppets, created by Jim Henson in the mid-1970s, were all of the craze for about 3 decades. Maybe you loved them, perhaps a bit too much. Maybe you hate them. Maybe you were afraid of them. Thought that Animal was going to rip off my face, and I thought that Sweetums was going to eat me. But there's no denying just how famous the Muppets once were, especially in the 80s and the 90s. With a show that was once the most popular television program on the planet and over 10 movies, these iconic characters have held a special place in many people's hearts. Or at least they did. I mean, dare we forget when Kermit the Frog was, canceled?
You can tell I'm mad by the kind of things that I say to the monster, like this. You big
Cookie Monster didn't deserve that, man.
He's crying because he's so sad.
Hashtag justice for Crumble. We're not sponsored. The characters are still as iconic, but after one successful reboot in 2011, they never were fully able to reclaim the same amount of success. Also, that movie gave us the greatest ballad of all time. Am I a man? Or am I a Muppet? Still remains unmatched. But despite having one of the best reboots that I've ever seen in my entire life, the last Muppet movie was in 2014. A decade ago! So, what gives? For basically the past decade now, it seems like Disney has provided just one lackluster attempt after another to modernize the Muppets for audiences today, including a show that was basically just The Office with Muppets that kind of did nothing but hurt the brand even more.
Hey, when are you gonna come do the show?
Well, if it keeps on sucking the way it did last night, never!
Like, who is this for?
Oh, man.
I was happy to see you made it home safe last night.
How do you know that?
Well, you're here now. You don't have to follow somebody home to put that together.
The Muppets usually have a great balance between jokes for kids and humor for adults. This was not one of those times. Granted, I kind of like that show, but it doesn't have a clear identity, and honestly, I've never really had a reason to go and revisit the show, and that in itself might actually be the biggest problem. Let me explain. Regardless of the bigger brand, the Muppets themselves are kind of just products of their time. It's actually something that they joke about constantly in the 2011 movie. And although the majority of those older Muppet movies are great, granted not without their problems.
I'd like to go on record as being opposed to the use of violence for purposes of conflict resolution. However,
what you say? Oh, that you only meant well.
And even in some cases could have prevented national tragedies. What I'm trying to get at is basically the Muppets are very different in terms of nostalgia than something like, I don't know, Star Wars. It takes a lot more than something like Kermit the Frog showing up for audiences to just point and clap and be like, I know what that is, I know the frog, I know the frog, I know what that is. Like, we're not gonna have people acting like, I don't know, this for the Muppets. Go! Let's go! But there's also a bigger problem here. Disney Plus. Listen, I understand not wanting to make another theatrical Muppet movie after Muppets Most Wanted didn't do great. Where'd they go? Where is everybody? Probably too busy making those Kermit drinking tea memes. Remember those? Aside from giving us some like really good memes, Muppets Most Wanted didn't really make an impact. And so studio executives were probably like, yeah, Iger, we gotta get rid of the frog. But he's green. He reminds me of money. My favorite thing. Iger, he didn't give you any money. Yeah, drop the frog.
Oh my god! Oh jeez, oh my god!
I joke about all of this and say all of this, not to say that that movie itself was bad, but when you dump small Muppet projects on Disney Plus with next to no marketing, you're only dooming them to fail even harder. And that's indicative of a larger issue with streaming platforms just kind of having too many things available, so some stuff just gets lost among the content. It's a shame too because that last Muppet project that they put on Disney Plus, it actually got pretty decent reviews. Muppets Haunted Mansion was also pretty good, definitely better than the 2023 movie. That's for sure. But Disney just didn't really give a reason for anyone to care about the Muppets. They just kind of put them on Disney Plus and said, well, we hope they do well. Spoiler alert, they didn't. People just don't have a reason to care, and the projects just consistently get buried and buried on Disney Plus, and that's a shame. And I don't think that this is necessarily a popularity thing. People still like the Muppets, alright? They've just become a little bit more niche and a lot more underappreciated in my personal opinion. I'm no Muppet historian by any means. I'm just someone that appreciates both the brand and the craft that goes into bringing these characters to life. So it's really sad that as a casual Muppet consumer, they aren't as present in pop culture these days. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, we don't need a No Way Home for the Muppets. Let's go! Kermit showed up! But I don't want to end on a really bad note, so instead, let's end on a bittersweet note. Disney still seems to care about the Muppets, even if they aren't as profitable as maybe they once were. And that's at least saying something, since Bob Iger and the mouse are just the embodiment of corporate greed. The frog is profitable! Put the frog on everything! The Muppets still make occasional appearances in Disney parks, they still have merchandise sold, and Muppet Vision 4D still stands in Disney's Hollywood studios. It's in a little bit of an awkward spot being sandwiched in between Star Tours and Galaxy's Edge. You literally go from this to this to this. But it's not going anywhere, so it's still as popular just as it is respected. Plus, Muppet Vision 4D is the last thing that Jim Henson worked on Muppet-wise before his passing in 1990, so it's almost a memorial of sorts as well as a monument to his achievements. And maybe even to the Muppets themselves. Also, I went on Muppet Vision 4D after having like 4 blue milks at Galaxy's Edge, but before I get off track again, we have to save the Muppets. The MCU, if you will. Although I'm glad that the Muppets are still around and still exist as a relatively smaller property, I'd love to see them restored to their former glory. A part of them and their charm will always, of course, be with Jim Henson, but the legacy of these characters, it grows even beyond that and has proven before and time again that it can make something truly special. The mouse doesn't ruin everything. Everything, but I think that myself, Muppet fans, and almost everyone would love to see the Muppets again as a bigger piece of pop culture today. So let me ask my fellow Muppet defenders this. Are we gonna be men, or are we gonna be Muppets? Am I a man?